Mr. Mayor, we are live.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon, everyone. We will now call this meeting to order, starting with a moment of reflection. Thank you. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nations, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and the heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in the territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of the shared sustainable and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward together towards reconciliation. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 be received and adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Madam Clerk, may I have a motion to go past the 4 hours if necessary, please?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that Rule 14.19A, as per the Consolidated Procedural Bylaw number 2017-165, be suspended in order to allow the meeting to proceed past the 4-hour adjournment requirement if necessary.
All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest to disclose at this point in time? Okay, if not, and you find you're in that situation later, you can disclose at that time. So we'll now go into close. So Madam Clerk, may we have a motion to go into closed session, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that we do now go into closed session at 3:04 p.m. to discuss acquisition, disposition of land, education and training of members in accordance with Section 239 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, 2299 Highway 11 North, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations related to the municipality, intermunicipal relationships.
All in favor? Opposed? Carry. Thank you. We'll see you all enclosed, and we should be back around 4:30.
Mr. Mayor, we're live.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May we have a motion to rise from closed session, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that we do now rise at 4:34 p.m. and report on the closed session item 4C. Donna Hewitt, Director of Corporate Services, reacquisition, disposition of land, education, or training of members in accordance with Section 239, sub 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, 2299 Highway 11 North. D, Robin Dunn, CAO, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations related to the municipality intermunicipal relationships.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion for item 4C emanating from closed session, please?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the confidential verbal information and confidential correspondence presented by Donna Hewitt, Director of Corporate Services, reacquisition, disposition of land, education of training and members in accordance with Section 239, sub 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, 2299 Highway 11 North, be received.
All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Madam Clerk, may I have a motion for item 4D?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the confidential verbal information presented by Robin Dunn, CAO, REA position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations related to the municipality intermunicipal relationships be received, that the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, CAO, and staff proceed as directed by Council and report back.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Okay, we'll now jump to item 6B, and we have a celebrity at the chamber with us tonight, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Excuse me. Charlie Beatty, a resident of Oro-Medonte Township, is the youngest athlete to be named to the national freestyle team in Canada's history, which is quite an accomplishment. He represented Canada at the first Norman freestyle competition of the season in Cooper Mountain, Colorado, taking home a gold medal, which is outstanding. And I'd like to see him improve even more though and stay there. The past year, Charlie represented Canada at the World Junior Championship in Liesen, Switzerland at age 14. He is qualified for the finals of the Big Air Freestyle competition. So I'd like to welcome Charlie, and I would like, if you would come forward, Councillor Hutchinson would like to present you with a certificate on behalf of the township. And then we'd like to have our picture taken with you just so we can, we have something. Bask in your glory, yes.
Charlie.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going well. How's it going with you?
Great.
Well,
Good.
congratulations on behalf of the mayor and council. And I would like to say Ward 1, where you live, and that's my ward. Congratulations, and thank you for representing our community so well. We have a certificate for you from the township, as well as this fantastic toque, which we hope we'll see you on the slopes with, and really look forward to watching your success going forward. So congratulations.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Now, if I can ask council,
Here, this is all yours now. You can
call
do
it
it.
2 minutes recess, and we'd like to have a picture of Charlie, if that's okay.
Congratulations.
Why don't you get this side,
Thank you.
Charlie, and I'll move over here.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Excellent work.
Appreciate it.
Yes, I'm envious. Yeah, good job.
Good job. Appreciate it.
You should have brought the medal with you there.
Wow. I got it's not really a medal I got. It's like a huge thing.
A token.
Yeah.
Big smile.
And you combed your hair, like the thing is all
Exactly.
that. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and all the best of luck. Okay, Madam Clerk, do you want to go back and we can, or actually, is there a motion? Can you read the motion for item 6A, please?
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Moved by Clark, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the correspondence from the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, AMCTO, for Sheila Spring, Records Management Clerk, completion of 4 units of municipal law program be received. That Sheila Spring, Records Management Clerk, be recognized under the mayor's signature.
All in favor? Passed, and we'd like to extend our congratulations to Ms. Spring on all the amazing work she's done and the work she continues to do to improve her skill set.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll pass that along.
Madam Clerk, may we have a motion for item 5A, the minutes of the previous council meeting?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, February 8, 2023 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
Any amendments to the draft that anyone saw that, no? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Item 7 is public meetings, which there are none. Deputations. I understand Wendy Tapano is here to present the deputation in person. Wendy, would you please like to come forward? And when you're ready, and is it? Oh, this slide deck's coming up now. Thank
Can we
you.
just
there it is,
do a
yeah.
mic check?
Testing. Is it working okay? Should I lean forward? Is that better? Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you a little bit about who we are at the CDC and what we do in the community, what we can do for the municipality, as well as the businesses and social enterprises within the municipality. I also am here to encourage you as well to what I'm hoping is that we can continue our partnerships and have you consider us a resource and partner in the community for economic development as we move forward to support the township. Next slide. So we are an economic development focused organization. We provide business loans, business coaching. We work on various community economic development projects. We do professional development workshops, and we're also involved in some community strategic planning. Next slide. So while we're a delivery agent for a number of or different levels of government, but also other funding agencies, the real foundation for our existence comes from the Community Futures program. Not sure if anyone's heard of Community Futures before, but it is a national program that is offered in 269 communities across Canada. And those communities they cover the vast majority of rural Canada. So the program is focused solely on rural communities. Our office has the great fortune actually of having an all local board. So we're fully governed by local volunteers. And basically that means we are able to make local decisions based on local need, which I think is really unique and important for the work that we do. Of course, we're also really thankful for the work that we get to do with the many partners in the community, including the Township of Oro-Medonte. Next slide. So we lend money. We lend money to businesses. We lend money to social enterprises and not-for-profit corporations. I have included a number of statistics and numbers in the slide presentation. I won't say them over again. I'm hoping that you've had a chance to look at those numbers specifically, but what I'm guessing you're probably wondering is how have we specifically helped Oro-Medonte businesses or the community itself? The work that we do with our clients is, the nature of the work is often confidential. So it's not often that I can just sort of rhyme off all of the people that we've worked with and all of the work that we've done, unless they've given me express permission to do so, or we've have in our marketing materials or that sort of thing. So I am going to try to infuse some examples throughout the presentation so that you do get a sense of some of the businesses that you would definitely know that we've worked with. One of those I'll start off is Veta Spa. I mean, such an inspiring story of entrepreneurship and a grand vision for this community. We had the opportunity to support that project right in the beginning, and we're able to work with them on providing some seed capital, as well as essentially declaring support for such a project from a community organization, I think was also valuable to Veta Spa in the beginning. And while our contribution to that project may be small compared to the size of that project, we're certainly proud to have had the opportunity to contribute to it, and particularly since they now employ 95 people in the community, which is a pretty significant number, 55 of which are full-time. So that's great. Moving on to the next slide. The next three slides are actually, they provide some background on a COVID relief program that we had the opportunity to offer. It's a federally funded program, the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, or you might hear me say RRF, as we tend to use a lot of acronyms. I think in government we tend to use a lot of acronyms, but so as the government had started rolling out some of these COVID-19 supports for businesses, it quickly became apparent that there were some groups of businesses that were being, I don't want to say left out, but just that weren't able to access some of the programming, like sole proprietors was one, businesses who were younger, so may not have been in business for any longer than 1 year, and in some cases there were businesses who were larger but were not able to access enough support. So like the Canada Emergency Business Account, they could access, but they might have, their operating costs were significant enough that they needed a bit more than that. So the RRF program, through that we were able to provide some of the same benefits that the CEBA, the Canada Emergency Business Account, provided, but to some of those businesses that weren't able to actually access CEBA. During year one of the global pandemic, our office did 59 of those RRF loans. And on top of that, we did 16 loans from our traditional loan fund. It was a very, very busy year for us, but certainly one that that activity was obviously needed in our communities. Next slide, please. So through RRF, we, as I mentioned, 59 businesses accessed the loans that impacted 147 jobs, and you can see there the majority of those loans were to women-led businesses, also a number of sole proprietors, as well as youth-led businesses. One example of a company that did access that was Glen Oro Eco Retreat. You know, they were newer at the time in business, had made some pretty significant investments in what they were doing, and if you can imagine, you know, being shut down and not being able to operate. So we were happy to be able to support them. Next slide, please. We also assisted 82 organizations with subsidized access to business advisory services. So essentially this gave them access to third-party advisors and consultants who could help them determine how they could thrive in the changing environment, essentially. Next slide, please. We provide ongoing business coaching, training opportunities, and community connections. It's not uncommon for us to meet with anywhere from 50 to 60 businesses a month, doing one-on-one in-depth coaching, business coaching. And of course, I did want to mention as well the professional development program. We are very fortunate to have the partnership we do with the township and the economic development department here. We've done some great programming in terms of training and workshops collaboratively. I think I'm trying to talk too fast. 10 minutes is trying to fit it all into 10 minutes, but working collaboratively with the township is really important and valuable to us, and I think it's valuable to the businesses as well. So next slide.
We've been lenient with time, so.
Oh, have you? So I can slow down a little bit. I could probably spend an hour on each one of these topics and tell you all about them, but obviously I'm not going to do that. So one of the most common questions that we receive from businesses is, can I access any grant money for my business? And that's a really popular question. Loans are easier to access. Grants, there's not really that much available for for-profit businesses. But one of the things that we have been able to do is create the Community Capacity Building Fund. So over the last several years, we've been able to make small grants to businesses to do new and innovative things in their business that they might not have otherwise had the opportunity to do. A few examples. In Oro-Medonte, Quails, we were able to assist them with some of the expansion on their patio for the outdoor heating to expand their season. The idea is we're trying to look to support businesses so that they can grow and do some interesting things, or that they have the opportunity to grow their sales and grow their business. Another one's Humdinger Bicycle Tours, purchase of equipment to diversify their offerings, offer more local tours, and attract new visitors, as well as Hutchinson Maple Syrup, purchase of equipment to improve efficiencies. There's others as well, but those just give you a flavor of a few of them. Next slide, please. Our BizLink program has really taken off in the last few years. We're seeing a significant increase in the number of business owners who are looking to retire or transition out of business. We're also seeing an increase in the number of people who are looking to buy businesses as well. One of the biggest challenges, though, in that entire process is many of them want to remain anonymous, or they don't want to publicly let people know that they're selling their business or that they're perhaps looking to buy a business. And so our program allows for the opportunity for connections and matching with a level of anonymity that meets the needs of the buyer or the seller. What makes us also, I would say, a good organization for this kind of a program is the fact that we offer the wraparound supports like the business coaching and the business loans, as well as the ongoing support as a new buyer, for instance, is growing their business. So essentially that program is meant to keep businesses open, keep storefronts filled, and to keep people employed. In the last 4 years, we have been involved in and supported in some way 79 successful business transitions in the area. Next slide, please. Through our youth wage subsidy program, which is called Pathways to Employment, we match youth job seekers with employers. And there's a real win-win here because the youth are most often placed in a work experience that's really valuable for them, and the employer is provided with a wage subsidy for 6 months as an incentive to train young job seekers on the job. Next slide, please. So most of what I've spoken about is really speaks to the core programs of the CDC. But there's there's so much more that we do in the community when it comes to projects and initiatives and how we get involved in the community. And this slide shows you just a very short list. I have pages of things that we've done over the years, in fact, but this shows just a very short list of some of the things that we have done and been involved in. I will point out or highlight a couple of items. Oro-Medonte was a key partner in our tourism investment opportunities research, and that is a project where we identified some key tourism investment opportunities created with the help of CBRE did some feasibility analysis, created some initial business planning documentation so that it was available for investors and businesses to look at and use as they looked at planning to expand. I was also privileged to assist Donna Hewitt and Jen Whitley with some of the strategic, facilitation, in fact, of some of the sector-specific focus groups for the economic development strategy. Business retention and expansion surveys we've been involved with in partnership with Oro-Medonte as well over the years, and that kind of information is really valuable for any kind of strategy, developing the products and services that we all offer for our businesses, because it's really about their voice in what we do. So those are just a few examples, but just in closing, I hope I've provided you with general overview. Anyway, I would invite you to reach out to me at any time if you have further questions, and of course encourage you to refer anyone that you might know that could benefit from the services and products that we have to offer. So thank you very much. I'm sure I did go over my 10 minutes. I appreciate your patience, and if it's allowed, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tampano. Council, any questions? Councillor Young?
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm just curious about something. You keep hearing from different people that it's hard to get the younger people to work or retain them in different businesses. What's your experience of that?
Well, I think the labor market, we're in a really unique time right now, because generally it's difficult for, whether it's youth or do you mean generally, or are you talking specifically you're hearing about youth not wanting to stay?
Yeah, I've been in different businesses. I just to cite an example up in, it was Harvey's up in Quavenhurst. I went there one day there, and there was an older woman, 70 something. She was doing the cash. She was preparing the sandwiches, and she was doing the window. And I was talking to her. She said it's hard to get younger people to work and stay. And that's not just that business. I've talked to owners of different businesses, two in particular, same sort of thing. You can't get the younger things to work.
Yeah, I think the labor market right now, there are way more people exiting the labor market than there are entering, and it's a different market. It really is a job seekers market versus, an employer's, and there's lots available, and so I think it can be difficult to have people stay. Employers have to get really creative these days, and we're seeing some of it in trying to retain. Like, retention is as critical an issue as well, and deserves just as much attention as the hiring process. We could chat. I could talk to you about it for a long time, I think. But
No, it's a very good question, Councillor Young. I think part of it is it's a service industry that was most drastically affected by it, because some people may have left and found jobs elsewhere.
Yes.
And in the service industry, quite often, sometimes it doesn't tend to be the higher paying position, so they may have found better employment, or employment that gave a better financial gratification. I know when you're referring to the youth placement, like, do you hold the job fairs to try and match up youth employment for the summer, or businesses with youth employment?
So we don't hold job fairs ourselves, but we do attend many of the local job fairs. So there's one coming up, Work in Simcoe, and we'll be attending that to try to engage youth. And we also will be attending a Lakehead University job fair coming up as well. But we also do a lot of our own marketing, and just trying to look for interest that way.
No, perfect. No. Well, any other questions? This is the last chance you get. I'm going to ask you to stay quiet the rest of the meeting. Go ahead, Councillor Young.
I'm sorry. Why does a business come to you? I mean, I understand you have a lot of experience in terms of guiding them through the business itself, but are your loans cheaper than the bank, sort of thing, or why you as opposed to the bank?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are, I wouldn't say our loans are necessarily cheaper. If we're talking social enterprise, yes, they are, but we offer flexibility. So there's a lot more flexibility, I would suggest, than the banks. But I will also say, though, that we work very collaboratively with the banks. So oftentimes a bank will say to a borrower, we can provide you with this much, but you're actually, we can provide you with maybe it's 60% of the value of what maybe it's a mortgage. But you actually need to come up with another 20% of it. So we might fit in there and work collaboratively with a Schedule A bank or another lender. But like I said, we're also very flexible in terms of the terms that we offer. We can do interest-only payments for the first 6 months or a year of a loan, or look at how long they have to repay it. Might be a little bit longer. So we look at the whole of the business, their cash flow, their business plan, their projections, and try to determine what works well for them.
Councillor Schell?
Yes, thank you for coming and the great presentation. Are you also helping direct people through the great governing body or the government agencies to get their grants and loans as well? Do you provide that service?
Yes, yeah. So we often have people ask us, where can I access funding? And like I said, we always look at the whole situation, and sometimes we say, you're better off not getting a loan from us, but you should get, access funding over here. So we look at everything, and if there are grants available that match what they need, absolutely, we will send them that way. We're very familiar with the various, government grants through FedDev or the provincial grants like Rural Economic Development Fund. Just there's several of them that come up in different rounds. So.
Thank you. One more quick one. You're doing the service industry and the tourist industry. Is that pretty much what you cover?
We will cover all industries. So we will serve all industries. Anyone who needs our support, we're available. If we have what they need, we'll be there to support them.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Ms. Tampano, for the very informative presentation and answering questions. You guys do a lot of great work for the businesses in the community, and we really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Take care. Thank you. Madam Clerk, may I have a motion, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie, be it resolved that the deputation provided by Wendy Timpano, Orillia Area Community Development Corp., CDC, overview of economic development and business support services offered by the Orillia Area CDC be received.
All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Is there any members of the public present regarding a particular item on the agenda, Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Mayor, there is not.
No. Is there anyone from the public registered to speak on an agenda item tonight?
No, Mr. Mayor, there is not.
Thank you. May we have a motion for item 11A, please, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Clark, be it resolved that CS 2023-07, Yvonne Aubuchon, Clerk, new requirements for alcohol license extensions for temporary outdoor patios be received and adopted. That staff bring forward an amendment to the fees and charges bylaw for council's consideration.
The floor is open for discussion. Is there any questions? Councillor Hutchinson?
Through you, Mayor Greenlaw, just with regard to the application processing fee of $200, I do see that the statement is it's in line with other divisional cost recovery fees outlined in the township's fees and charges bylaw and other municipal fee schedules, but there's really not a comparison with other municipalities right now. I'm just wondering, is this the fees and charges, have we reviewed those over the last year to provide any inflationary buffer in there?
I will refer to the CAO for that response.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchinson. had not anticipated that question. However, we discussed this very matter as a team earlier yesterday and today, looking at a comprehensive consolidation of our fees and charges bylaws, not only within corporate services, but other departments across the municipality. It was anticipated that pending ratification of the budget, the revenue lines that would be endorsed by council would then require adjustments to our fees and charges bylaws, that early in the second quarter there would be updated bylaws that would be brought before council, both with internal support and probably leaning on some external support on some of the more complex fees and charges components. It's like you were there yesterday, Councillor, part of that discussion.
Thank you, CAO Dunn. I wasn't there, but obviously we're on the same wavelength. Thank you.
Any other questions? Just one question, Madam Clerk. Is the application to the AGCO included in those $200, or is the $200 above and beyond the licensing fee?
So the ACGO is just an approval. They just receive the information from us now.
Okay.
And they do oversee the process, but the actual application and approval is through the township now. So it would be our application fee, and it would be for addressing circulations, etc., that the administrative costs associated with them.
So the AGCO doesn't have an incremental fee that gets charged to the establishment?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. No.
But there could be. I didn't look into that particular, but they're just the oversight at this point in time. They've downloaded that responsibility to the municipality.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other questions for Ms. Aubuchon? Seeing none, may we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
I called the motion.
Yeah, the motion is on the floor.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? You're carried.
For clarity, Mr. Mayor, was that motion carried?
Was carried, yes,
Thank
my
you.
apologies.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to reports for information only. Municipal officers. So, Madam Clerk, I understand 12B, Nellie has a presentation. Is that
An overview.
for 12A?
Yes, she
My
has an
apologies,
overview to
12A.
provide.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening or
Good evening.
afternoon, however you'd like to call it. What you have in front of you is the 2022 audit planning letter, which was prepared by our auditors, Baker Tilly LLP, and it's for your review and information. This report is for you, the members of council, and I would like to provide you just a quick history and overview of this letter and its importance. Bylaw 2021-025 was adopted by council on March 10th, 2021, which appointed Baker Tilly LLP as our chartered accountants as the township's municipal auditors. Under section 196, it's required that the municipality appoint an auditor, which that is what we did with that bylaw. Once appointed, the auditing firm provided the township with their available schedule to complete our 2022 and 2021 year-end financial statements. Like many organizations around that time, the pandemic closure and transitioning to virtual platforms, this caused some delays for the township, which also during that time, it's important that I mention to you that there was a transition of management staff as well as the financial team having to meet several one-time compliance deadlines that came about. One of them was the first steps in our asset management plan regulations, which was presented to council on March 23rd, 2022. That was had to be adopted by July 1st of 2022. We also were randomly selected by Revenue Canada for a HST audit in March of 21, which was a 3-year audit, which required quite a bit of our resources and was completed in July of 2022, which I'm happy to say there was a very small adjustment of $6,000 as a result of that. Not to mention this transition during this time, we also were working towards a transition in our ERP financial statements, which was in the planning stage and required collaboration and resources from all our departments within the township. Along the way, it was also top priority for us to make sure that our provincial and federal partners, such as MMAH, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and the Ministry of Finance, as well as Council, was apprised of all these delays and what was coming about with the auditors and when they would be presenting to Council. With that, even with those hurdles, the 2022 draft consolidated financial statements were presented to Council on March 23rd, 2022, and the 21 draft financial statements were presented and endorsed by Council on November 9th, 2022, with both being issued with unqualified audit opinions. This is the highest assertion an auditor can provide that an organization's financial statements are presented fairly and with no material in all material respects. The audit plan letter provides Council with a high-level summary of the steps involved in completing an audit, and some of these tools the auditor uses to arrive at that exact opinion. And they are outlined in the plan. Materiality is one of those tools used by the auditor and is a benchmark used to obtain reasonable assurance and to identify any risk, determine the nature and timing and extent of the audit for such things like the audit samples, and evaluating the misstatements, if any. And just by the way, we have not had any material misstatement in the last 2 audits that were performed by Baker Tilly for us. Our materiality, as you'll note in the actual report, is higher this year. The materiality is based on a percentage of total revenue, which is an industry standard. And also materiality guides the auditors in performing all these, as I just said, their work in the audit. In the letter, the auditors identify a few high-risk areas that are common in municipal sector and the procedures they use to minimize those risks. If any issues are identified during the audit, they will discuss them with myself and the CAO, and any significant matters would be brought to the Council's attention in their annual report. Finally, I would like to bring to your attention Appendix A, which explains the audit, the responsibility of the auditor, management, and Council's responsibility. If you read through that, Council can see that if they feel necessary to meet with the auditors to disclose any issues they feel the auditors should know about, for example, any known fraud or illegal acts, they have the opportunity to meet with the auditor and provide any information the auditor would need that could impact the financial statement. The auditor is scheduled to come this spring, and we hope to have Baker Tilly present the draft financial statements to Council in mid to late summer. And soon after that, the FIRs, which are our financial information returns to the ministry, will be filed. And that's that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything that you have about this report.
Thank you very much, Nellie. Council, any questions? Councillor Clark?
Thank you so much, Nellie. I really appreciate the detail that you went into and getting this planning report to us, because I think it's important for us as members of council to be aware of what's going on from an audit perspective. I have a few questions, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Let's continue it through.
One would be, were there any items on a schedule of misstatements for 2022 or 2021?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Clark, no, we had no misstatements reported on our final financials for the 20 or 21 years.
And supplementary, Mr. Mayor, is that because there were some that were identified below the threshold of materiality and management corrected them? Or was there just none at all?
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, and to you, Councillor, any misstatements that were identified were corrected by us.
Okay.
And none of them were of a material factor.
Fantastic, thank you, good job. Could you kind of qualify for us kind of maybe the number that were identified by the auditors and maybe the financial impact of those changes that were made?
You mean of the adjustments that were made by us?
Exactly, yep.
That's a good question. I do have a set of adjusting entries which I would have to add up to let you know. That might take me a
Ballpark
bit
is
of
fine.
time.
Even just the number of adjustments?
The number of adjustments were approximately 7.
Is that
Seven.
seven?
And I
Okay.
would have, I would
Okay,
have
so-
to bring
so
that
it's-
document up.
So it's a small number of adjustments that were immaterial. So I guess
Yes.
my question is I know the ministry sets out deadlines for the FIR to be reported on May 31st, but you're telling us that we're not going to get the financial statements until August, and therefore that's when we're going to submit to the FIR, correct?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, and to you, Councillor Clark. We will not have our final approved financial statements from council until likely, my hope is July, but at the very latest August. And through my conversations with the ministry, they would prefer that we not report our FIR until we receive our final financial statements. They also have quite a bit of leniency when it comes to that. They want to make sure that the numbers are accurate and in completeness. I mean, I could file an FIR early, but then those numbers would have to be adjusted and would require more staff time to amend an FIR. So that the ministry realizes that we are in a schedule with the auditors, and they have many clients as well, and so they have allowed us to report our FIRs as soon as they're accurate and we have our final financial statement.
Okay, I just want to confirm with members of council here. Ultimately, as laid out in the planning report, management's responsibility is the preparation and fair presentation of the consolidated financial statement. So it's important to remember that it's management's responsibility to maintain the integrity of the financial statements, and the auditor is a check system for that. So ultimately, Nellie, Miss Morrow, sorry, I do believe she's doing a good job and is responsible for those financial statements, and it's our job as councillors to understand what systems are in place in order to make sure that our financial statements are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Nellie, I really appreciate your time on this. I guess my thought or my comment, if I could, Mr. Mayor, is that if we know that there's likely not going to be any material misstatements and we can file the FIRs in advance of the deadline. I'm one of those type A personalities. I like to be in advance of deadlines, but I certainly understand the consideration of the additional work that may be required. But from what you've told me, it sounds like the statements will be materially correct by May 31st, and at which point we'd be able to file if required.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and to you, Councillor Clark. If you would like me to file for May 31st, once the auditors come in April, I would have already prepared a draft set of financial statements, which at that point I could coordinate with the auditors to validate my numbers and potentially file on time, just so you're aware that once the final set of financial statements approved by council are prepared, that is when MMA, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, will actually vouch to our FIR. So they may not post it until that's the case, but I will definitely work in collaborations with our auditors to make every effort to make sure it's posted for May 31st.
Thank you. Supplemental?
Yeah, not a question, but just a comment. I really appreciate that clarification, Nellie, and I think you made a good point that it's our job just to make sure. And I think the deadline for an FIR, which is interesting, is generally May 31st, but there isn't a real strict deadline on the financial statements, which then they use to corroborate with. So there's some leniency on the financial statements, but for some reason there's a strict deadline on the FIR reporting to go along with it. So there's a clarity piece there.
Yeah. Well, it's not clear to the majority of the public because it's an accounting thing and understanding, and if you're an accountant, you have a lot more knowledge than the layman. CAO Dunn, would you like to make a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and you are correct, sir. Certainly members of council and staff have seen a number of queries from members of the community going back to our 2019 submission, the 2020 submission, with a number of questions. Certainly the 2019 was associated with COVID, as Ms. Morrow indicated. We did miss those timing targets, Councillor Clark, as you indicated, and certainly there's a number of members of the community that have brought that to our attention. What Ms. Morrow didn't underscore was that ongoing relationship with the ministry and our partner there to advise them as we're going through that process. They understood where we were going, and the challenges that we were facing. At the end of the day, we were always in dialogue with that authority. The good news, Mr. Mayor, if you reach back a number of years before the wobble with COVID, and then the HST audits and tangible capital assets preparation, some staffing changes, and new financial systems, that's a lot. You go back and you look at the history, and Deputy Lavoie raised this, and we were always plus or minus on the filing deadline. It was coming into 18, and then 19 that things got off the rails. Ms. Morrow has indicated for council, the auditor is council's auditor. You appoint the audit. Those statements are for you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and for the members of the community. It's an unqualified audit, each one of the cycles that have taken place, including the last one with a new audit team. Very, very rigorous undertaking. We're on track for the spring. I'm confident that with Ms. Morrow and the history now of the Peterborough Baker Tilly audit team, that we'll be able to be a lot closer to those targets. The only caveat that I would say through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Clark, I would be reticent about submitting if they're not finalized, because it will be a duplication of work. As long as we're in concert with the ministry, they know where we are in that process, and certainly council knows where we are. It's your check with the external auditor that our finances are in solid shape. And I think what you've heard from Ms. Morrow, the audited statements have been tight.
Thank you, CAO Dunn. I just have one question, Ms. Morrow, and I don't mean this to be putting you on the spot, but if we were to submit the initial FRI in the timeline, and there were, let's just take an example like the last one where there are 7 adjustments, how much incremental staff time would it take then to refile the FRI post the auditors identifying the differences that they, or the adjustments.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it would definitely depend on what the change is. I mean, it basically would be taking the original document and updating the original. It's a very extensive Excel document, which is all the schedules are linked to each other. So again, it would depend on what the change was, because that's the first step, to update that Excel document that is in the format that the ministry likes it. Once that is done, to upload it is not difficult at all. So it really does matter what the change is. It was what it comes down to. So it could take, I mean, I know our auditors spent last year, they prepared our FIR for us, and it took them 2 weeks to prepare the FIR. So that's in its entirety. So it would be, if it's just updating 1 or 2 cells, it could be quick. But again, it's linked with many other schedules, so you'd have to validate that it all balances before you send it. So it could take a day. It could take 2 days, I would say.
Okay, no, thank you. I guess if there's no other questions in closing, I would like to say thank you very much for such a detailed report. And I think the important message is, yeah, we had some stumbles and we had some obstacles to overcome, and we've identified them in order that we, moving forward, will do everything within our powers to ensure that things are within the timelines that are laid out. So thank you, Ms. Morrow, for all the work on this item. It's much appreciated. Okay, so if there's no other questions on that, all reports of municipal officers, is there any other items within the list that anyone had a question or cared to discuss at this point? Seeing none.
Yes. Sorry, Mayor Greenway, you're asking for reports from the committees?
No, I'm asking for, in regards to item 12, the municipal reports, there's A to F. The rest, I believe, are all into Ms. Jacoby's water reports. Is there any questions regarding to that? No? Okay, seeing that there's none, this is all, Madam Clerk, I have the motion for all those reports to be passed in one vote, please.
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the reports as listed under item number 12, reports of municipal officers for information only, be received.
All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Item 13, reports of members of council. Does anyone have anything to report? Councillor Shell?
Yes, we have two. Regarding the Heritage Committee selection process, I've asked Councillor Hutchinson to bring that up to date to the council, because I have another one to present regarding the physician retention. So, Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Councillor Schell. Yes, so with the Heritage Committee, which both Councillor Schell and myself are a part of, just wanted to bring everybody up to date that we're just currently in the selection process of the six public volunteer members of the committee, and we're just absolutely thrilled with the caliber and the number of applications that we've received. The interview process has began, and we hope to complete that by this coming Monday. We have it's a good problem to have when you have so many enthusiastic and well-qualified candidates. So we should have those interviews completed by the end of day on Monday upcoming, and hopefully by the end of the week we will have the committee selected and ready to roll for our first meeting, which will take place the third week in March. So really looking forward to moving on with this committee. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor Schell and Councillor Hutchinson, for all the time and work in making sure we get the best people possible to represent the Heritage Committee.
Yeah, it was a very rewarding review. Regarding the Aurelia District Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, right now they're they're very active and they're trying to recruit for psychiatrists, obstetricians, primary care specialists, and family practitioners. They're making some reasonable headway right now. Gaining psychiatry and obstetrics while family medicine is a big task. So as soon as a gap is filled, a new one seems to emerge. The hospital has hired a third-party recruiting provider, providing some variable success. What they're in need of right now is accommodations for 15 placements. They're trying to come up with some social events and community involvement to encourage the participants to stay in the community. They're coming up with a new website for the recruitment, and it's in the process, along with 2 social media positions of 2 per week to catch the attention of potential physicians. Their future plan is to do some fundraising. They're needed greatly, and they require at least 2 months lead time for anything that's going to happen there. They did point out that the Oro-Medonte funding is down from 15,000 to 4,000, and I don't know what we can do about that, but maybe we could offer an opportunity to do some fundraising in our community. And I would like to see that maybe we can find a place where we can have a facility to have a medical center of some sort, central in our community. I know we have a nurse practitioner's facility up in Horseshoe, but that's at the far end, and it's nurse practitioner, and I'm not sure how well it's used. I'm going to try and find that out, find out what's available up there. But just something to think about. I know they're going to do a presentation to council on March the 8th. Pat Thor, along with Dr. Matt Miller, they'll be coming to council March 8th.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. And it's no doubt, because health is at the utmost paramount to all of us. We all use it at one point or another, and the system is stretched. Councillor Lavoie, or Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to give a quick update on a couple of things from the county level. First of all, the Simcoe County Council has posted their budget to their website, so their budget book is available for anyone to view. And it is interesting because we all face budget challenges. What they do say is that this responsible $695 million budget will support essential county services while limiting the tax levy to 3.5%, 2.5% operational, and 1.5% capital for residents, or about half the current rate of inflation. So we'll see, they've taken a very conservative approach to their budgeting, and we'll see how that plays out over the course of the next couple of years with regards to whether they maintain or improve on their credit rating. At the most recent meeting of County Council, there was an interesting medical report filed, which will excite the medical profession in Oro-Medonte. It's called the Pre-Hospital Medicine Double Sequential External Defibrillation Study. I raised this because it increased the survival rate with good neurological outcome from cardiac arrest by about 2 to 3 times compared to standard defibrillation. It does require 2 defibrillators, which means a second ambulance has to report to the site. I did inquire back, but I haven't heard yet whether or not community defibrillators could be used in that instance if they're available. I think it's, and I can make that report available to anyone who is interested in it. It's very complex, it's very technical, it's very medical, it's peer reviewed, it's been in all of the medical journals, and a lot of the information did come from within our own community of Simcoe County. And the last point I'd just like to raise is that the last meeting of the county council, it was disclosed that the reserve fund for social housing was in a $25 million deficit. When you couple this with the understanding that Bill 23 is introduced to provide affordable housing, and you consider that these are the most vulnerable people in our community, and that for some of this housing, when it's built, there won't be development service charges available to the community, it makes one wonder whether or not this drives the incentive for social housing in the opposite direction. And I'll just place that as a comment out there from one of your counselors, and just for thought. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity for the update. That's it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Vaughn. And that is interesting because there is a $25 million deficit at the county level on social housing. And if the development charges that get paid back into the system are set at zero for the next 10 years, then we're restructuring and refinancing just to pay what the potential interest would be, even though it was financed internally. But it is challenges, and you know, it's up to all levels of government to find the best solution moving forward. Councillor Bard.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting last week, and so coming out of COVID, it seems that trying to get programming back up and running. So there was a lot of discussion about events planned for 2023, discussions about the farmers market, and maybe some suggestions to what might be something to try different for the upcoming year. So the Chamber will be making a presentation to Council, I believe, on March the 8th of what they plan for the year and what they would like Council's help with. Also, there's plans to revisit and review some of the bylaws. Their AGM is coming up on March the 21st. And a lot of discussion about succession planning and trying to make sure that there's some stability and sustainability for the board there moving forward. So
Perfect. Thank you for that update. I think a key message from your report is that the Chamber are looking to do things differently, which is important for us all to thrive and become better. Is not always to do things as we always have, but to look at new opportunities in order to evolve. Any other reports at this time? Seeing none. There's no motion for that item, so we'll move to number 14, which is announcements. Are there any announcements from members of council that they would like to make at this time? Seeing a couple things, I guess this would fall under announcements. I had a very productive meeting with MPP Dunlop, and we readdressed the importance of safety in the Warminster community with the crosswalk. We will go back. We are going to proceed in order to ensure the safety is taken care of, and that process has been engaged by Mr. Binns, and so it is in process, but we will go back to the province again, as it is a provincial highway, to have further discussions to the importance of working out some sort of way that they can assist in the cost, because it is a very pricey, it's a pricey venture, but a well worth the price that it is, because it's the safety of children going to a school. So hopefully we can convince the Ontario government to come to the plate and help with the funding of that in one way or another. And then I guess the other item that I would just like to announce that we've received a lot of communication in regards to line 15 on Bass Lake, along Bass Lake, and we will be bringing it back forward to review earlier than it was set for. So it wouldn't have been brought back to council for a full review until it had run a full year. But we are going to, once again, in order for public safety, we will have that review back before the end of March. Anyone else have anything at this point? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, may I have? I just want to make sure. There is no motion for that as well, I understand, correct? So may we, now 15, consent agenda. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the staff recommendations with respect to the items listed under consent agenda correspondence be adopted as printed.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it's carried. There's no communications or petitions. Item 17, notice of motions. Councillor Clark have provided a notice of motion to be considered at this meeting. Councillor Clark, would you like to provide your comments?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the rest of council. I think the motion itself is pretty self-explanatory. I think in this day and age, it's really important for constituents to be able to see the goings-on of council at a time that suits them. Everyone has very busy lives, and I think it's important to make that accessible with the tools of the day. Being YouTube doesn't charge us extra for keeping the videos on there, so I think it's important to let people know what's going on, and if they miss it, they can come back and watch it later.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Councillor Hutchinson?
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Through you, Councillor Clark. I really want to thank you for bringing this motion forward. We all campaigned on openness and availability to our constituents, and by allowing greater accessibility to a variety of our meetings for a longer period of time, we're enabling our community members to stay informed on their terms. Concern has been raised regarding having information out on the, quote, World Wide Web, and the potential for misuse can be simply addressed by stating that people, the moment that we are live streamed, that is captured forever. And if somebody has the appetite to want to capture it and use it in the future, they have the ability to do so, no matter how long or short the stream is available. And the same can be said for development services meetings, and I'm in favor of having all meetings streamed. Information for development services is public information, and again, if someone has an appetite to find out addresses or names, they can do that very easily. Our neighboring communities of Ramera, Aurelia, Barrie, and Collingwood all live stream with no limit on the timing or the type of meeting. And just yesterday, I read a newspaper article that the township of Tiny has also introduced this to the benefit of their communities as well. So thank you very much. I'm very much in support of it.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchinson. Any other comments or discussion? Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yeah, I would like to propose an amendment to the motion, and when is the appropriate time to do that?
Well, Madam Clerk, I believe, can we do a friendly amendment at this point versus vote on what's there and then amend? So what would your recommendation be?
Well, it would depend on whether or not council would consider the amendment to be a friendly amendment. So I think it would be appropriate to amend the motion appropriately, bring the amendment forward, if you have a seconder.
So what she's saying is you're flooring an amendment to the motion, and then you would need somebody to second that amendment.
And I believe
Yeah.
I believe, Mr. Mayor, it would be appropriate for me to just read for the public who are viewing, read the actual main motion first.
That's fine, please.
Okay. Moved by Clark, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that all Development Services Committee meetings and regular special and public council meetings held in the council chambers at the Township's Administration Centre be live streamed to improve transparency and communications with the public. That the live streams be available for viewing on the Township's YouTube channel indefinitely, providing constituents with the opportunity to engage in the municipal democratic process and watch the meetings at their convenience. And further, that motions numbers C200212-13, C220112-21, and C220112-22 be rescinded in their entirety.
Okay, thank you. And now, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, would you like to state what your friendly amendment would be?
Yes, thank you very much. And I would prefer actually that it be a friendly amendment. I certainly don't intend to challenge any of the intent of this motion. In fact, I'm in full support of it and all of the statements within it. However, I do feel that it ought to sunset at some point after a current council, whatever current council that might be in the future, or this present current council, 3 months after the term is completed. So insofar as our term starts on November 15th of a given year, I'm simply proposing that the proceedings, the meeting channel streaming service is taken down sometime around February of the following year, every 4 years. So it was simply that, and I only offered as consideration so that we don't end up with 20 or 40 years of streaming service on YouTube. But nonetheless, I'm sure there'll be some memorable hits in there. Thank you very much.
Councillor Young, you look like you want to ask a question.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask Peter why, and I think at the end you answered it. You don't want 20 or 30 years or 30 or 40 years of video of council meetings prior to that. So that was going to be my question, why, and he's answered that in his statement.
And do we have a seconder for this amendment? Friendly amendment. Councillor Schell. So Madam Clerk, moved by friendly amendment.
So the friendly amendment, it would still be the same movers and seconder of the original main motion. It's just a friendly amendment. It doesn't
Okay.
get called as a motion. So.
Okay. So there's no requirement for you to, you want us to vote on the friendly amendment to accept it, and then do you need to reread with?
No, council would just agree that it's a friendly amendment, and then I will reword. Okay. I will reword the main motion.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yeah, and I'm not so much concerned that it's 3 months, 6 months, or a year after council, whatever council agrees to. It's just this notion of it being in perpetuity.
Councillor Young.
I don't think you're going to live, Peter, in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Well, 30, 40 years, a few of us aren't going to be around, so including yourself.
Councillor Clark.
I appreciate your concern, Mr. Lavoie. Would it be maybe more prudent to not tie it to the election cycle, but say have a review after 5 years? Do you want to remove the previous 5 years worth of content as a way to, because I would understand it could be confusing if you go on YouTube and there's 40 years worth of council meetings, which one are you looking for? But I would like to, because hopefully maybe I'll be on council again next term. I'd like to be able to point back to some of the things that we were able to accomplish and have that for the record. But if all of council of the day decided, no, we're done with those previous 5 years, I think that might be more appropriate.
Councillor Dubois?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Clark. Yeah, no, I agree, and perhaps that's actually a better notion, is to just keep a rolling 5 years. I think that would work probably better, because there's always 5 years that way, and it doesn't matter who the councillors are. Perfect.
Yeah, I obviously there could be a chance, like in 20 years, that 2 cycles would align, and therefore 5 years would be deleted right during election time. But we might want to come up with a better. Councillor Hutchinson, Mr. Mayor, through you.
Councillor Hutchinson?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Greenlaw. It also gives us, currently, it doesn't cost us anything to upload it to YouTube, but that could change within a 5-year cycle, and it could be a consideration.
No, and I think those things are pertinent, like if there is a charge down the road and how much it's going to cost for us to retain what bank volume of video. So what would it be best, I'm asking, would it be best to review the retention of meetings after 5 years? So leave it till the next term of council. What we're doing is agreeing to keep everything this term, and it's to be reviewed in the following term. Okay. Madam Clerk, have we made that confusing enough for you? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
So just to be clear of the rolling 5 years concept, so we would this month be dropping the streaming event from 2018 of February 2018.
Well,
and
but here's the thing. So currently, everything's taken down after a month. Am I correct in that? Or is it's a month, correct, Madam Clerk?
That is correct.
So currently, Development Services is not retained at all. And
except for audio.
Yeah, except for audio. Yeah. But the council meetings are removed from YouTube after a month. So they're taken down. So right now, there's nothing retained from the previous council. So it would be moving forward today. I don't think we will be reposting all the previous 4.5 years or 4 3/4 year. So it would be as of here forward, this is how we would conduct business in regards to streaming and retention.
Yes, that's correct. So this meeting would expire in 2028 in February.
Currently, but I think, did we not change that we were going to, everything would be retained until the next term of council, and then they would make the decision on disposing of what retention they're going to maintain.
Yeah, my view on that, Mr. Mayor, is simply that if we put an automated process in now, then it's not a matter that has to come up before council again for 5 years. And I like the approach proposed by Councillor Clark, which is that a certain number stay up, and then we're not just expunging a group because a particular event has occurred, like an election. If a future council wants to raise the point again about how long it ought to keep these records because of growing costs or something new has come up, a new technology, whatever, then we can go that way as well. But if this one were to be taken down in February of 2028, I think it just prevents that perpetual accumulation.
Okay.
And that was all that I had meant to propose.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Clark or Councillor Bard?
I'm good now.
You're good now. Okay. Councillor Clark?
Could I amend the friendly amendment and change the time frame to 10 years? Only because there could be circumstances where an issue is ongoing for a long period of time, and it would be appropriate to have, hopefully, most of the record available for public viewing.
Ms. Hewitt, do you have a statement or a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I would like an opportunity to have a consultation with the IT staff as well. The concept of a rolling, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, the concept of rolling when we can have meetings that, as we look at the potential budget cycle, we would then be looking at 3 days of removal, one after another. So I wouldn't mind the opportunity to consult with the IT staff to see what can be done so that it is on a more automated perspective as the deputy suggested.
Okay, so Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Do you suspect that maybe it might be a good thing to put this off for another date?
Well, that is a potential, or Madam Clerk, would I ask that we pass the motion as it was introduced, and we can make an amendment to it in the future as to the time parameters. It gives us, we've got 4 years before it would engage anyways, or 4+ years. So would that be the simplest at this point in time, Madam Clerk?
Council can decide to defer it as per the director's request to have time to speak with IT. Or, yes, there's always the possibility of a reconsideration, just bearing in mind that whatever action council or whatever direction council gives today, if it's something that is going to be actioned, then motion for reconsideration needs to be brought back for the next meeting. It needs to be done in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
So it is just so not to complicate what council is trying to achieve here, because I think you're all in agreement. So those are the options: defer until next council meeting, or pass this, and then you're into a notice of reconsideration, which is 3.
And I have no problem passing this tonight as it is, and if we want to bring a motion forward or a motion of reconsideration at the next meeting, or a motion forward in the future to look at how we're going to manage to clean out the backlog of meetings, I think that would be fine, because right now we're not looking to do the deletion of anything for 5 years. So I would think it's most appropriate that we could, I'm suggesting I'm in favor of passing the motion as it was originally introduced, and we can deal with the time retention at a later meeting. Councillor Young?
That makes sense.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, you've read the motion. So, no, I think we remember the original motion, which is all we're going to pass tonight.
Okay.
Or all we're going to vote on tonight. So
Available for viewing on the township's YouTube channel indefinitely.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. And so That said, call the vote. All in favor?
Do we have agreement on, do we have a friendly agreement on that? That no, there's no amendment?
No
is
amendment
proposed?
from the original motion.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So, all in favor? Opposed? Madam Clerk, you mark that unanimous, please.
Duly noted.
Thank you. Okay. And item B is a motion coming forward on March 8th by Councillor Hutchinson. And it is entirely up to you, Councillor Hutchinson. Would you like to provide a brief verbal explanation of the matter at this time?
Thank you for the opportunity, yes. Motion number C220706-19, dated July the 6th, 2022, just for council and for anyone watching, was to place a lifetime fee on dog tags of $45. So if you are a dog owner, you would pay a one-time fee. It would be $45 for your dog. And really, by doing so, I'm looking at that just from the economics, and by eliminating that dog tag fee, we really statistically would experience revenue loss as a result. Currently, our fees are for a neutered microchip dog annually is $15. It's $20 if the dog is not microchipped. So with the $15 fee, under the lifetime fee, the township would receive no license revenue after 3 years and 3 months. So the average age of a dog is 10 years. Or a lifespan, for a dog is 10 years, so that's about $150 in revenue loss per animal. So I think just from a cost recovery perspective, it makes good fiscal sense for us to relook at this. And just keep our current regime in place, and it will provide our bylaw officers to review also our current fees and ensure that we're effectively managing our cost recovery on dogs and impounding and the following. So I did do a review of some neighboring communities, and we're currently in line with our counterparts in the method of licensing on an annual basis. So the other parts of my motion were, and I've asked Curtis to have a look into the opportunity for community dog owners to have the option to pay at their cost for what's called a silicone dog tag versus the metal dog tag that you're provided when you do purchase a dog tag. And that's simply for safety reasons. The silicone tags are proven to be less likely to get caught up and get the dog caught up or perhaps choke on their collar because they're caught. And then the other part of my motion is just to propose that we offer sales of our dog licenses at any vet clinics we have here in Oro-Medonte, just to help increase the licensing of the dogs. So that's the reasoning behind my motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchinson, for the innovative initiations you're taking on this. It's much appreciated. Item 18, bylaws. May we have a motion for the bylaws, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-012 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the clerk, signed and sealed by the mayor.
Any comments or questions by any members of council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. May we have the confirmation bylaw, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young, be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-1013, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the clerk, signed and sealed by the mayor.
All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And may we have a motion to adjourn, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Shell, be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 6:04 p.m.
All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and everyone, please stay safe and drive carefully on the way home tonight.